I'm Gary C. Johnson. You've seen these billboards and ads that say size matters. I agree. The size that matters is the size of the results the law firm gets for their clients. We have several multi-million-dollar verdicts here in Kentucky. In fact, our firm owns the record for the single largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. That's the size that matters to you. In Kentucky, give our firm the call.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson tries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law of Life provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law of Life with Gary C. Johnson and Keith Casebolt.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law of Life. I'm Keith Casebolt, my dear friend Gary C. Johnson. So good to see you.
Isn't it wonderful to be here? What we're laughing about is Keith and I have been struggling. By the way, hello guys and gals, and thank you for being here. Okay, before we get started. With what do you put on a billboard? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a good question. I mean, everybody knows what you do. You're a personal injury attorney who's very successful. You get people a lot of money. And Gary and I were just sitting during the break saying, okay, we want to put up a billboard, but what do we put on it?
So, we need help. Will you folks come up with some ideas for me and send them to Gary at GaryCJohnson.com. Gary at GaryCJohnson.com. Now, here's some of the ideas we've had.
No, you're not going to tell them, are you? Don't influence the great thinking of our friends.
Well, there's one that Ken Fugit come up with that I thought was ingenious. He said, you know, when you go by and look at billboards, really the only ones you ever really see and read is the one that says, rent me. And he said, what we need to do, Gary, is put one up for you that says, rent me, then GaryCJohnson.com.
All right, who came up with the one that had your picture that said, not just another pretty face?
Oh, Anita come up with that one.
I kind of like that one.
Yeah. So, folks, give us some help here on a billboard. It's obvious we don't know what to put on one, right?
Well, I guarantee you.
And I'll even accept the fact you say, don't do one. Okay? How you guys and gals been doing anyhow? You've been listening to the stuff we've been reading in the book a little bit. You've been trying to make peace with those thoughts and only adopt the ones that, as you're clicking through them.
Gary, after last week's program, you know, that information, if you didn't see last week's program, 80,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of the 80,000 is going to be negative. My goodness, it is a tough job to try to be happy and positive and enjoy this life.
Well, we're working on it, Keith and I are really hard, trying to come up with a system that where you can actually distance yourself in your mind from those thoughts that are going to take you and make you feel unworthy, the thoughts that make you feel you can't do something. Fear. The old fear. I mean, just crazy. I was reading an article that the only two fears you have that you were born with is loud noises and
falling.
Huh?
And falling.
Yeah, and falling.
Yeah.
Everything else is learned. But yet fear keeps us from doing all kinds of stuff that we could do. Fear of failure. Fear of what they'll say. Oh, what are they going to say about me? Huh? Who cares what they say? By the way, who are they?
They are the experts that know everything. Mm-hmm. Whenever you hear somebody say, they tell me, it's always the experts.
Yeah.
But you know what? Out of this book, I just saw it the other day, and I don't think my wife would care for me telling you this, but she had to go to the dentist. Now, she has a great fear of going to the dentist. Gary,
reasonable.
For 3 days, she punished herself with all the things that could go wrong while she was having this root canal. She labored over it. She worried over it. It was all that she could talk about for 3 days. She went to the dentist. It went fine. Everything was great. She loved it. She loves the dentist. She said she never felt a pain. She couldn't believe that she worried about it. But she suffered for 3 days because of thoughts.
That's what we're going to try to learn to deal with, my friends, because we are probably the only enemy that we have. We are the source of just about all of our suffering. It is right here with the thoughts, the negativity that we do to ourselves. Maybe with reading Nancy's book that we can get a little bit better at dealing with those thoughts, those old negative thoughts that we can't control. They will be there, but we can maybe distance ourselves from them. We're going to read some more from Nancy's book in a little bit. I've got just something I want to follow up with on last week's program on what we were talking about on the computer. Okay, so let's go to the computer. There's our number if you need to call us, our Lexington office, GaryCJohnson.com. Now, this is where you're going to give me your billboard ideas, okay? Gary C. Johnson. Gary at GaryCJohnson.com.
We need the help. You don't want Gary's picture up there with the rent me.
Now, we were talking about about when you go into the courtroom, the jury is going to be looking around wondering who's trying to get something for nothing today because of the propaganda of the...
and let's say that this is good people. They're not bad people.
Great people.
If you ask 100 people walking out of your local Walmart, do you believe there's frivolous lawsuits? 100 out of 100 will say yes.
So when they actually get into the lawsuit, how do they defend it? What do they use? I'll give you a little bit of it. One of them is the scarcity defense. That if you let this person recover, you're not going to be able to afford to buy your insurance.
You know, I have friends that believe that.
Yeah.
I do.
Which is not true because insurance companies got all the big buildings and they got all the money. Oh, another one. The doctors will leave the community in a mid-mal. Hospitals will have to close in a mid-mal. Okay? Prices will go up if you hold this trucking company accountable for the damage they did, okay? This particular type of product, you'll never be able to buy it again. They'll take it off the market if you hold it, if you find that it's responsible for causing this horrible injury to this person. Then you got what I call the big niceties. That's in every time you're trying to defend a poor person that's been run over and tore all to pieces through no fault of their own. What are some of the big niceties that's always used? One is, they were already hurt. We didn't hurt them. They've been hurt all their life.
He's complained about that back problem
That's
for
right.
20 years, yeah.
The plaintiff is fat, and their fat is the reason that they're hurt. They wouldn't have got hurt if they hadn't been fat.
You are kidding me. They really use that?
In a subtle way.
Had they been in
The doctors will say, the defense doctor will say, you know, they would have healed a lot easier if they hadn't have been obese.
Oh.
Let's try that.
I understand.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the big niceties. The plaintiff's lazy.
Wasn't working, huh?
After all, they smoke and they're killing themselves. Why should they recover? The plaintiff has tattoos, and you know who those people are that has tattoos, don't you?
You are kidding me.
I'm serious.
So,
But they use it in a subtle way.
yeah.
Then they come out and say, well, they really didn't get hurt. And their defense doctor says, yep, that's true. Then they say the plaintiff, they don't work, they don't have a job.
Not deserving.
Not deserving. The plaintiff is a convicted felon years ago, went to prison, paid their price to society that was in that, but we shouldn't have to pay him now because of what he did back then for what we did. So that should excuse us. The plaintiff isn't dressed appropriately. He just, they just don't dress right. The plaintiff is lying about prior complaints of neck or back pain because they happened to forget 20 years ago they had told a doctor they had a back pain. Okay? The plaintiff is lying about their current injuries. The plaintiff is lying about how the wreck happened. They use their defense doctor to back all of this up. We, to get around this defense doctor coming in and saying they lied about their prior medical, we always get all the past medical of our clients. It's a job, but we collect it all. And we go through it and we summarize it. And we put it into a sheet, okay? We send it, we have our clients take it and give it to the defense doctor.
Gary.
Therefore, he can't say they lied to him about prior injuries. I've had defense doctors refuse to take it, then do a report that says they tried to conceal their prior injuries from me when I asked them about it.
So basically what you're saying is the defense will never have to find out anything about your client. You're going to tell them everything right up front.
You have to. And then we even have them take it to their deposition with them. There's fertile ground that the defense can always use to hurt a person that's in a lawsuit. One is their memory. Nobody remembers their prior medical. Nobody. Not a person watching this show remembers their prior medical. You don't know what you told a doctor 5 or 10 years ago. There is no way you know. The defense knows this. They'll have an old record there that says you had a neck pain 5 years ago. Mrs. So-and-so, have you ever complained of neck pain in the past? And Mrs. So-and-so, truly not remembering, will say, no, I don't have any, no, I've never complained of neck pain. Now they've got a person that's told a lie. Now, it may have been that she just had a little crick in her neck that day.
Yeah.
But it's the credibility of the person is that when a person has been hurt by someone else, the insurance company then tries to turn the tables, literally turn the tables, and make that person the villain. And it's a game, it's tough.
Let me ask you something. Is it almost a miracle for a truly good person who's been hurt to get through this system with everything that's stacked against you?
If the lawyer does his job, that's representing the person, gets their medical summaries, gives the jury the information, the jury will do the right thing. Always. Now, if the jury doesn't get the information, you don't know what'll happen. But I can tell you right now that the lawyer, I've had lawyers say, well, I had a bad jury. You didn't have a bad jury, you had a bad lawyer.
Yeah.
Face it.
You've said several times before, I've seen cases that was settled for $100,000 and it was $1 million case because the facts weren't brought out.
But the jury is good, decent people that want to do the right thing, that have been subjected to a lot of propaganda over their years. You can overcome that, a lawyer can, by getting all the facts out to the jury.
Speak about that just for a moment. Is it amazing to you that a jury made up of 12 men and women who have been exposed to this propaganda, to what the defense doctor is going to say, all of the things, the big nasties that you just went through, is it amazing to you that they can put that behind them and listen to you, hear the facts, and make the decision?
There's something magic about the number 12. I don't know what it is. Maybe the good Lord's involved in it somehow. I don't know. But it is amazing how smart a 12-person jury can be. It's incredible to me. I love the jury system. I just think it works. It's wonderful. And it's up to the lawyer to get the information to the jury. Jury do the right thing. They get the information. Okay, here's another thing. I want to go back to computer and then I'm done with the computer. In a deposition, when they take a discovery deposition of the plaintiff, there's 3 areas that they try to trick the people on. They try to get them to, they talk about time, speed, and distance. Anyone that's on a deposition that says how long something took, or how fast somebody was going, or how much far away they are always wrong. The defense knows that.
I was getting ready to ask you. We have Ken and Tyler here, the two of us. If all four of us witnessed an accident and we were asked about time, speed, and distance, there would be 4 different answers?
Absolutely. Now, no question about it, because, and what I tell my clients is I say, tell the truth. And I look at them and I say, well, let's talk about the truth. Were you timing this? No. Were you looking at the speed that the other person was doing? Were you looking at their speedometer? No. Did you measure these distances? Well, no. Well, what's your answer? What happened? Well, I don't know. It happened so fast. I said, well, I said.
I was just getting ready to ask you, why are we afraid to say, I don't know? Why do we feel compelled to give out a exact amount of time, speed, and distance when we truly don't know?
Because some lawyers ask a question and you've got to give an answer. Not true. Just because a lawyer asks you a question don't mean you have to give them an answer. Sweetest music to my ears when one of my clients gave a deposition. I don't remember. I don't know. I wasn't. I'll tell you what I do know.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we're done with the computer, and we're going to read a little book, and we're going to go a little bit further on what Nancy Collier was talking about on her thoughts. Okay, Keith?
Boy,
are you up to it?
Yeah, this is the book, Can't Stop Thinking, How to Let Go of Anxiety and Free Yourself, Nancy Collier. Last week, we stopped when we were reading a little bit about survival. And boy, that was enlightening that we have 80,000 thoughts and 80% of them are negative, but it's evolution to keep us surviving. Let's start with this chapter. Modern dangers are different. Our understanding of what constitutes danger, the stick, has now changed since the time of the jellyfish. In modern times, the threat of dying in the forest at the stroke of a stick has now been eliminated. Our minds are working around the clock now to keep our self-worth, our ego, from being injured or annihilated. With the real-life carrots and sticks gone, the potential threat shifts to our identity, to the story we tell ourselves about who we are. We're always scanning to ensure that no situation will damage our value or self-esteem. While I'm sure there were many sticks to avoid when we survived in the forest, in modern times, the potential threat is to our ego, and it's infinite. It's mandatory when it comes to keeping ourselves emotionally intact. At the most basic level, we return to our negative thoughts because we're trying to turn a negative experience into something more positive, essentially to make it come out a different way. Our mental replays are attempts to re-script an experience that we don't want or that we don't want into something that we do want. To reestablish our self-worth and emotional balance, if we could just understand our negative situation better, know our problem more clearly, spend more time with it, well, eventually we'd be able to make it disappear, or at least feel better. We hold tight to our pain so we can figure out how to make it go away. We believe an answer exists inside every negative situation, and if we could unearth it through thinking, it would free us from pain. Now, Gary, that chapter is so vitally important to someone that's watching this program.
It is. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been reading it.
Saying, I can't let go, I can't move on, or rehashing something that has been done. What you said just a moment ago about you love it when a client says, I don't know, that there's nothing wrong with that. Nancy Collier in this book is saying it's okay to say this event happened, it's over with, and I'm moving on.
And that I'm not going to continue to think about it, thinking that it will change. Now what you do is you say, well, what if I'd done this? What if I'd done that? What if they did this? What if they did that? It doesn't matter. It's gone. It's in the past. That event can never be done again. But yet we hang on to it in our mind and think and think and think about it and rehash it over and over and over and replay it. And it's basically almost insane when you think about it.
And what it's doing is it's robbing you from the present.
From pleasure, from the momentary pleasure of being. You know, we've talked on this program in the past about you need to learn to be where you are at the time. You need to learn or practice trying to be in the now. In other words, if you're in a waiting room, be there. If you're standing in line somewhere, be there. If you're home with your family, be there. Don't be somewhere else. Don't be in your mind reliving all of those things in the past that you can't change. And don't be in your mind, if you can, about what are you going to do tomorrow? How am I going to deal with this situation that I have conjured up in my mind that's going to happen tomorrow? How am I going to deal with it? You'll deal with it when the time comes tomorrow. You're wasting your life. You're wasting your dash. You're wasting your happiness when you relive over and over and over past events that you can't change, or you can constantly concentrate on tomorrow or next week.
And you know what's amazing about this is when you rehash these things and they're going over in your head, the pain and the suffering is just as real as it was when it happened 10 years ago. No difference.
And you turning loose of that pain is the key. Can you do it? Can you try to do it? You think it's going to be easy? No. But can you do it? Sure. Practice. Take some time. Distance yourself from it. Don't buy into it. Say, okay, the thought is happening. I'm not going to continue engaging in it. Try it and see what happens. If you can get just a little bit away from those thoughts, just a little bit, then next time you'll get a little more maybe, and a little more, until you get to the point to where you can have some peace and not relive the pain of those past experiences.
I didn't realize it until I read this chapter, but Nancy Collier is right. We tend to think if we keep thinking about it and we keep replaying it, that we're going to come up with this magical answer.
If somebody's going to change.
And it doesn't.
It's not. It can't change. It's done. It's never going to change.
Yeah, so why would you continue to suffer over something that happened 10 years ago that you cannot control and you couldn't change at the time?
You did whatever decisions you made at the time were the decisions that you thought was in your best interest, or you would not have made them. Nobody deliberately goes out and says, I'm going to make some decisions that's going to ruin my life, do they? Huh? Nobody does that. But yet people do make decisions that basically ruin their lives. Now I'm trying to tell you how you might get back from those decisions and get away from them and move on to make some new decisions.
Gary, we used to talk about forgiving yourself. And there was times that you and I would say, oh, we'll find a way to forgive ourselves. After I'm reading this book, I'm finding out that maybe we're not having such an easy time forgiving ourselves for things that we have made mistakes in.
We want to relive it so we can change it in our mind. And we think, you can solve any problem if you think long enough, right? That's what you're taught. That's what we understand. If we think long enough and hard enough, we can solve anything.
Your teacher tells you early on, put your mind to it.
Put your mind to it. That's right. Well, you can't solve prior problems by putting your mind to it. You can buy into a whole lot of misery by putting your mind to it, but you can't solve it because it's done. It's over. It's gone. Except it's not gone in your mind. That's the point they're trying to make. And those thoughts will come back. You just learn to try to become a witness to those thoughts rather than buying into them.
And let's address this. If you're doing this, it's not that you're callous or you don't care about what happened. You're just saying, in reality, this event took place, it happened, I did the best I could do. It's over with, and now I've got to move on and let go of it.
If you're going to have any peace and happiness in your life, you have to let go of those painful experiences, whatever they are, and move on. Or you can say to yourself, I'm going to be in this pain the rest of my life. I enjoy it. It's who I am, and it's what I want to be. And if that's the decision you make, then the things I'm saying, don't pay attention to.
You know, we've gotten a lot of emails from our friends that are watching. The one that troubles me the most is the one lady that sent you the email that said, I can't be happy. I'm not going to be happy. I can't get over these things. And it was sad that this lady had predicted her future going forward.
Well, and she's right. She will be miserable because she's not going to turn loose of those things that are making her miserable. And they've all happened. She can't change any of them. So what are you going to do, my friends? Are you going to turn loose of those things that make you have pain and feel bad? You may never be able to turn completely loose of them, but at least you can keep them from controlling who you are and what you do, and define whether or not you're going to have any peace or contentment in your life. And without some peace and contentment, what is life?
Yeah.
It's just, you're just existing. So I'm saying to my friends, don't do that if you can.
The book is Can't Stop Thinking by Nancy Collier. At the front of the program, if you caught it, Gary gave you some tips of what you're up against when you're in a lawsuit and those big nasties that you pointed out.
Well, there's a lot more of them.
Oh, my goodness. Those are tough. And coming up next week, there's an example in here in the book that we're going to be reading about. It's Karen's story. I think it'll be important to somebody next week when they tune in.
Okay.
I want to get to that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Simply the Law of Life. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. We look forward to seeing you again next week at this same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. You've seen these billboards and ads that say size matters. I agree. The size that matters is the size of the results the law firm gets for their clients. We have several multi-million-dollar verdicts here in Kentucky. In fact, our firm owns the record for the single largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. That's the size that matters to you. In Kentucky, give our firm the call.